I found my wife's secret blog where she documented every detail of her 3 year affair, including how boring our marriage was compared to her real life. She had no idea I'd been reading it for months. I thought I knew my wife. After 11 years of marriage, you're supposed to know someone completely, their habits, their thoughts, their secrets. I thought Jennifer and I had built something solid, something real. We weren't passionate like newlyweds anymore, but we were stable, comfortable, a good team raising our kids and managing our lives. That's what I thought anyway. Then I found her blog, 3 years worth of detailed entries documenting an affair I knew nothing about, describing our marriage as a performance while her real life happened elsewhere. Hey, Reddit. This is the story of how I accidentally discovered my wife's secret digital diary of infidelity, and how reading her own words about our marriage destroyed everything I thought I knew about the woman I'd spent over a decade with. I'm Marcus, 37 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question whether anyone can truly know their spouse. You know that moment when you stumble onto something accidentally and your entire reality shifts in seconds? When information you weren't looking for rewrites everything you thought you understood about your life? That's where this story goes. But let me start from the beginning, because to understand how devastating this discovery was, you need to understand what I thought my marriage was versus what it actually turned out to be. I met Jennifer 12 years ago when I was 25 and she was 23. I was working as a junior software engineer at a tech startup in San Francisco, making about $65,000 a year. Jennifer was finishing her degree in graphic design, freelancing part-time, and waiting tables to pay her bills. We met through a mutual friends party, bonded over our shared love of hiking and indie music, and started dating within a month. Jennifer was creative, warm, organized. She had this way of making everything around her feel aesthetically pleasing and intentional. Her apartment was beautifully decorated on a budget. Her design portfolio was impressive. Her whole life seemed curated in the best way. I was more analytical and practical, focused on building my career in tech. We balanced each other well. She brought creativity and beauty into my structured world. I brought stability and logic into her more chaotic freelance lifestyle. We dated for 2 years. During that time, my career advanced quickly. I got promoted twice, moving from junior engineer to senior engineer, then to lead developer. My salary grew from $65,000 to $95,000. Jennifer graduated and started building her freelance graphic design business, working with small business clients, making around $35,000 a year, but with the freedom to set her own schedule. At 3 years together, I proposed. We were on a hiking trip in Yosemite at the top of a trail. We'd climbed. She said yes immediately, tear in her eyes, telling me I was her person, her partner, the one she wanted to build a life with. We got married when I was 27 and she was 25. Simple ceremony, about 80 guests, beautiful in that understated way Jennifer excelled at. Our vows included promises about honesty, partnership, being each other's safe harbor through whatever life brought. I meant every word. I thought she did too. The first few years of marriage were good. We both worked. I'd moved to a larger tech company making $110,000. Jennifer was building her client base and making around $40,000. We bought a 3-bedroom house in a good school district in the East Bay. Started talking about having kids. Our son Tyler was born when I was 29 and Jennifer was 27. Beautiful, healthy, perfect. Jennifer took 3 months of maternity leave, then went back to freelancing part-time, working from home so she could be with Tyler. I was grateful for her flexibility, for the way she managed to balance motherhood and work. 2 years later, our daughter Sophia was born. Same pattern. Jennifer took maternity leave, then returned to part-time freelancing from home. By this point, I'd been promoted to senior engineering manager, making $130,000. Jennifer was making around $45,000 working flexible hours around the kids' schedules. From the outside, we looked like the successful modern family. Nice house, 2 healthy kids, dual income, me advancing in tech, Jennifer running her own design business from home. We attended parent-teacher conferences together, hosted birthday parties, went on family vacations. We were functional, stable, comfortable, but I'll admit we weren't particularly passionate anymore. Our sex life had diminished after the kids were born. We'd have sex maybe once or twice a month, and it felt routine rather than exciting. Jennifer would often say she was too tired, too stressed about client deadlines, too touched out from the kids. I understood parenting young children is exhausting. I figured this was normal for couples in our stage of life. We didn't fight much, which I took as a good sign. Jennifer would occasionally get frustrated with me for working long hours, for not being emotionally present enough, for treating our relationship like a project I could optimize rather than a romance I should nurture. I'd try to do better, plan date nights, bring her flowers, ask about her day, but work was demanding. The kids needed attention, and somewhere along the way, we'd settled into being co-parents and housemates more than passionate partners. Still, I thought we were solid. I thought Jennifer was content. I thought our marriage, while not exciting, was good, stable, built on trust and partnership. 3 weeks ago, that illusion shattered completely. It was a Tuesday evening. I'd gotten home from work around 6:30 p.m. Jennifer had dinner ready, pasta with salad, the kids already eating at the table. Normal evening. We ate, I helped clean up, we did the bedtime routine with Tyler and Sophia, 6, stories, teeth brushing, tucking them in, the usual. Around 8:30 p.m. after the kids were asleep, Jennifer came to me looking frustrated. My laptop is doing something weird. It keeps freezing when I try to open InDesign. Can you look at it? Sure, let me check it out. Jennifer's laptop was her work machine, a MacBook Pro I'd helped her buy 2 years ago. She used it for all her design work, client communications, everything related to her business. I'd helped her with technical issues before, so this wasn't unusual. She handed me the laptop and went to take a shower. Thank you, babe. I have a client deadline tomorrow and I really need it working. No problem. I'll figure it out. I sat down at the kitchen table with her laptop, opened it up, entered her password that I knew. We'd always had each other's passwords, or so I thought, and started diagnosing the issue. InDesign wasn't the problem. It opened fine when I tested it, but the system was running slow. I opened Activity Monitor to see what processes were consuming resources. Everything looked normal. I checked storage. She had plenty of space available. Then I noticed something odd. There was a folder in her documents directory called .personal archive with a period in front of it. In Unix-based systems like macOS, files and folders starting with a period are hidden by default. You don't see them unless you specifically show hidden files. Why did Jennifer have a hidden folder? My first thought was that maybe it was system-related, something created by an application, but the name Personal Archive seemed deliberately created by a user, not auto-generated by software. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew that immediately. It was clearly marked as personal, clearly hidden for privacy. I trusted Jennifer. We had a good marriage. There was no reason to invade her privacy, but something in my gut, some instinct I didn't consciously understand, made me double-click that folder. Inside was a single file, myreality.docs. My heart started beating faster. Why did my wife have a hidden Word document called My Reality? What was in it that needed to be hidden? I opened the document. The first thing I saw was the word count, 349 words. That's longer than 5 novels. This wasn't just a document. This was a manuscript, years of writing. Then I started reading. The document was formatted like a blog with dated entries spanning back 3 years and 2 months. The first entry was dated May 15th, 3 years ago. The most recent entry was from yesterday. The first entry read, May 15th, the beginning. I met Dee today. Actually met him. We've emailed for weeks about the branding project, but today we met in person at the coffee shop to discuss concepts. He's not what I expected. Tall, dark hair, these intense brown eyes that actually see you when he looks at you. We had talked for 3 hours. About design, yes, but also about art, about music, about life. I realized halfway through that I was leaning forward, completely absorbed in conversation in a way I haven't been in years. Marcus and I don't talk like this anymore. We talk about the kids' schedules, about bills, about logistics. When I try to talk about ideas or feelings, he looks at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. He's a good man, stable, reliable, a great provider. But God, he's boring. When did he become so boring? Dee asked me questions about myself, about my art, my dreams, what I wanted beyond client work and motherhood. When was the last time Marcus asked me about my dreams? I couldn't remember. I'm not saying this is anything. It's not. It's a client relationship. But sitting there with Dee, I felt like myself again, not just Marcus's wife or Tyler and Sophia's mom, myself, Jennifer, the person I was before I got swallowed up by domestic life. I'm meeting him again next Tuesday to finalize designs. I'm looking forward to it more than I should be. I sat there, staring at the screen, my hands shaking. This was written 3 years ago about someone named Dee, a client. She was meeting him regularly on Tuesdays. I scrolled down. The next entry was a week later. Tuesday again. Saw Dee again today. Another 3-hour meeting that should have been 1 hour. We finalized the branding concepts, but mostly we just talked about everything, about nothing. He told me about his marriage. He's been married 9 years, has 1 daughter. He said his wife is great, but they've lost something along the way. I told him I understood completely. I told him things about Marcus I've never told anyone, about how lonely I feel in my marriage, about how Marcus treats me like a project manager for our household rather than a woman he desires, about how we have sex maybe once a month, and it feels like a chore he's checking off his list. Listened. Listened. Then he said something that's been echoing in my head all evening. You deserve to feel alive, not just functional. When we said goodbye, our hug lasted a little too long. I felt something I haven't felt in years. Desire, want, the electric feeling of attraction. I'm in dangerous territory. I know I am. But God help me. I don't want to stop. My vision blurred. I couldn't breathe properly. My wife had written this 3 years ago about a client named, about her attraction to him, about her loneliness in our marriage, about me being boring and treating her like a project manager. I should have stopped reading. Should have closed the laptop, confronted Jennifer, dealt with this immediately, but I kept scrolling, entry after entry, hundreds of them. June 8th, the shift. It happened today. Dee and I slept together. We'd met at his office to review final design files. His wife was out of town for work. We kept finding reasons to be closer, leaning over the same desk, shoulders touching, hands brushing accidentally, but not really accidentally. Then he kissed me and I kissed him back. And suddenly we were in his office on his couch, and I felt more alive than I have in years. Afterward, lying there, Dee said, "This isn't just physical for me. You're incredible, Jennifer." When was the last time Marcus called me incredible? When was the last time he looked at me like I was a woman he wanted and not just the person who manages his household? I feel guilty. Of course I do. I have a husband, 2 children, a life I'm supposed to be committed to, but I also feel alive, seen, all the things I stopped feeling in my marriage. Marcus came home tonight and asked how my day was. I said, "Fine, just client work." He nodded and went to play with the kids. He has no idea. No idea that I spent my afternoon in another man's arms, feeling things I haven't felt in our marriage in years. Is this who I am now? A cheater? An adulteress? The thought makes me sick, but the thought of giving up Dee, giving up this feeling, makes me feel dead inside. I'm meeting him again on Thursday. I felt like I was going to vomit. June 8th, 3 years ago. The affair had started 3 years ago. While I was working to support our family, thinking everything was fine, Jennifer was sleeping with this man, this client, this Dee. I kept reading. Each entry was worse than the last. July 20th, the pattern. Dee and I have settled into a routine. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we tell our spouses we have work meetings, client calls, networking events. We meet at a hotel near his office. 2 hours where I get to be Jennifer again, not just Marcus's wife or the kid's mom. It's not just sex, though. The sex is incredible. It's the conversation, the attention, the way Dee looks at me like I'm the most fascinating person in the world. He asks about my art, my ideas, my feelings. Marcus asks about whether I paid the electric bill. I'm living 2 lives now. My real life, Tuesday and Thursday afternoons with Dee, and my performance life, the rest of the week with Marcus and the kid. The performance feels hollow but necessary. The real life feels dangerous but essential. I don't know how long I can keep this going, but I also don't know how to stop. September 3rd, meeting the wife. Marcus and I went to a tech industry event tonight. Spouses were invited. I wore the blue dress, the one Marcus barely noticed. At the cocktail reception, someone called Marcus's name. We turned and there was D. Derek Chen with his wife, Amy. My heart stopped. Derek kept his composure perfectly. "Marcus, good to see you. This is my wife, Amy." "Amy, this is Marcus Harrison and his wife, Jennifer, right?" We shook hands, made small talk. Marcus mentioned that Jennifer did graphic design work. Derek said, "Oh, really? We should connect. I'm always looking for design talent." We stood there, the 4 of us, making polite conversation. Marcus, and Derek talking about tech trends, Amy and I chatting about kids and schools, all while Derek and I had this secret burning between us. The affair we'd been conducting for 4 months, the Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, the hotel room. Derek's foot touched mine under the table. So brief Marcus and Amy couldn't have noticed, but I felt it. The acknowledgement of our secret, our other life. When we left, Marcus said, "That Derek guy seems solid, seemed interested in your design work. You should reach out." I smiled and said, "Good idea." This is who I've become. Someone who can stand next to her husband and her lover simultaneously, managing both relationships, lying to everyone and feeling justified because at least in one of those relationships, I feel alive. I remembered that night, September 3 years ago. I'd come home excited about making a good connection with Derek Chen, a successful entrepreneur. I'd encouraged Jennifer to reach out to him about design work. I'd helped facilitate her affair without knowing it. Derek Chen. I'd met him multiple times since then, at industry events. Once at a group dinner where he'd sat across from Jennifer and me, making conversation, being charming, all while he'd been sleeping with my wife for months. I scrolled through more entries. The affair continued Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, week after week, month after month, year after year. Jennifer documented everything, the sex, the conversations, her feelings, her frustrations with me. November 12th, 2 years ago, the comparison. Dee took me to dinner tonight. Marcus thinks I'm at a design networking event. We went to this beautiful restaurant I've been wanting to try for years, the kind of place I've mentioned to Marcus at least 10 times, but he always says is too expensive or too fussy. Derek ordered wine, asked me about my art, listened to me talk about the personal projects I never have time for. Then he said, "What if you left him? What if you chose this life with me?" I froze. "You mean divorce? Both of us?" "Eventually, maybe. I'm not saying now, but Jennifer, this isn't sustainable. You're not happy with Marcus. I'm not happy with Amy. We have something real." I told him I couldn't. Not with the kids so young. Not with how it would destroy both families, but part of me wondered, what if? What would life be like with Derek? Someone who sees me, desires me, makes me feel alive. But then I think about Marcus. He's a good father. He provides for us. He's stable and reliable. Is that enough for a marriage? It feels like it should be, but it doesn't feel like enough for me. I told Derek I needed time. He understood, said he'd wait, that I was worth waiting for. I came home and Marcus was asleep on the couch, laptop open, clearly having fallen asleep working. I looked at him and felt nothing. No anger, no love, no desire, just this neutral coexistence. Is this what marriage becomes? Entries went on, 3 years of documentation, 3 years of an affair I knew nothing about, 3 years of Jennifer living 2 lives, the performance with me and the kids, and the real life with Derek. She wrote about our sex life one. Had obligatory sex with Marcus tonight. He approached it like a task on his to-do list. Kiss for 30 seconds, touch for 2 minutes, missionary position for 5 minutes done, no passion, no creativity, no desire to actually please me or connect with me, just getting it done so he can say we had sex this month. God, I can barely stand it anymore after experiencing what real passion feels like with Dee. She wrote about our conversations. Marcus asked how my day was. I told him about landing a new client, about creative challenges I'm working through. He said, "That's great, honey," while scrolling on his phone. Didn't ask a single follow-up question. Didn't seem interested in anything beyond confirming I was fine so he could go back to his tech news. Dee would have asked a dozen questions, would have wanted to understand my creative process, would have engaged with me like I matter. She wrote about her plans, and Dee asked again about us having a future together. I told him maybe when the kids are older, when they're teenagers and divorce wouldn't be as traumatic. He understood. We have time. I'm only 33. In 5 or 6 years, Tyler and Sophia will be 13 and 11. Old enough to handle divorce better, old enough that splitting custody wouldn't destroy them. Then maybe Dee and I can have our real life openly instead of in secret. She was planning to leave me. Eventually, when the kids were older, she'd already thought it through, already discussed it with Derek. Our marriage had an expiration date that only she knew about. I scrolled to the most recent entries from last week. November 25th, maintenance. Marcus suggested marriage counseling last night, said he feels like we're disconnected, like roommates instead of partners. I agreed immediately because refusing would seem suspicious, but internally I was laughing. Marriage counseling to fix a marriage I'm actively betraying twice a week. to address problems I've already decided are unfixable. I'll go through the motions, I'll sit in therapy and talk about communication issues and reconnecting. I'll nod along when the therapist suggests date nights and quality time, and then I'll go back to my Tuesday and Thursday afternoons with Dee, where I feel like myself. Marcus is not a bad person. He's just not my person, not anymore. Maybe he never was. Maybe I married him for security and stability and mistook that for love. Dee is my person. In 5 years, when the kids are older, I'll leave Marcus. I'll tell him I'm unhappy, that we've grown apart, that I need more from life. He'll be devastated for a while, but he'll recover. He'll probably marry someone more suited to him, someone who values predictability and routine as much as he does. And I'll have the life I actually want, with someone who sees me, with someone I'm alive with. Just need to maintain the performance a little longer. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely control them. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. My vision was blurry from rage, from pain, from shock. Jennifer had documented everything. 3 years of affair, 3 years of lies, 3 years of calling our marriage a performance, while her real life happened with Derek Chen every Tuesday and Thursday. She'd written about me, boring, predictable, emotionally unavailable, treating her like a project manager instead of a woman. She'd written about Derek, exciting, passionate, attentive, making her feel alive. She'd planned our divorce, decided on a timeline 5 years from now when the kids were older, and I'd known nothing while I was working to support our family, thinking we were a good team, being a present father and what I thought was a good husband. Jennifer was living a secret life I'd been completely oblivious to. I heard the shower turn off upstairs. Jennifer would be down in a few minutes, expecting me to have fixed her laptop, expecting to resume our normal evening routine. Our normal evening routine that was, according to her own words, just a performance. A maintenance task she endured while waiting for her real life to begin. I felt like I might throw up, or pass out, or scream, or all three, but I did none of those things. Instead, I closed her laptop carefully, making sure nothing looked disturbed, waited for my hands to stop shaking enough that I could act normal. Jennifer came downstairs in her pajamas, hair wet, smiling. "Did you figure out the laptop issue?" "Yeah," I managed to say. "Just needed to restart some processes. Should be fine now." "You're the best." "Thank you, babe." She kissed my cheek, the same cheek she'd kissed hundreds of times while maintaining her performance of being my faithful wife. "No problem," I said. She took the laptop and settled on the couch, opening it to work. I watched her for a moment. This woman I'd been married to for 11 years, who I'd built a life with, who'd been secretly documenting her affair and disdain for our marriage for 3 years. I went upstairs, went to our bedroom, sat on the edge of our bed, and tried to process what I'd just learned. My wife was having an affair, had been for 3 years, with Derek Chen, someone I knew, someone we'd socialized with. She thought I was boring and predictable. She called our marriage a performance. She was planning to divorce me in 5 years when the kids were older. She thought I treated her like a project manager instead of a woman. She felt alive with Derek, but dead with me. And I discovered all of this not through confrontation or confession, but by accidentally finding her secret blog where she documented everything in painful, brutal detail. How long had it really been going on? 3 years of Tuesday and Thursday afternoons? 3 years of lies about client meetings and networking events? 3 years of her coming home to me and the kids after being with Derek, maintaining the facade of our family life while viewing all as a temporary performance? I thought about all the times I'd kissed her goodbye, trusting she was going to work meetings, all the times I'd encouraged her design business, having no idea one of her clients was actually her affair partner. All the times I'd held her after routine sex, thinking we were okay, even if we weren't passionate, having no idea she was comparing me unfavorably to another man in her private writing. The marriage counseling she'd agreed to, that was just last week. But I'd suggested it because I felt disconnected from her, felt like something was wrong, even though I couldn't name what. And she'd agreed readily, not because she wanted to fix things, but because refusing would be suspicious. She'd planned to go through the motions of therapy while continuing her affair, maintaining her performance until she was ready to end things on her timeline. I sat there for what must have been an hour, my mind cycling through everything I'd read, The affair, the lies, the contempt, the secret future she'd planned without me. And I realized something else. Jennifer had no idea I'd found any of this. She thought her blog was safely hidden, thought her double life was secure, thought she could maintain her performance indefinitely. She was downstairs right now, probably working on actual design projects, comfortable in her compartmentalized existence. I could confront her tonight, storm downstairs, tell her I'd read everything, demand explanations, blow up our life immediately, or I could do something smarter, something strategic, something that would give me control over how this ended instead of just reacting emotionally. I'm a software engineer. I understand systems, documentation, evidence, and Jennifer had handed me the most comprehensive evidence of infidelity I could imagine. Her own detailed account of a 3-year affair, written in her own words, documenting everything. I needed to think about this carefully, about what I wanted, about how to protect myself and my kids, about how to ensure that when this marriage ended, because it was definitely ending, I wasn't the one left devastated and unprepared. Jennifer thought I was predictable and boring, thought she had me figured out, thought she could manage her double life indefinitely. She was about to discover that sometimes predictability is just the surface, and underneath, even boring people can learn to be strategic when they discover they've been betrayed for years. I went back downstairs. Jennifer looked up from her laptop and smiled. Okay? You were up there a while? Yeah, fine. Just tired. Long day. Want to watch something together before I looked at my wife? The woman who wrote that spending time with me felt like a chore, who called our marriage a performance, who was secretly planning to leave me in 5 years? Sure, I said. Let's watch something. We sat on the couch together. Jennifer leaned against me, comfortable and familiar, the perfect performance of a content wife. And I sat there, knowing everything she'd written, seeing our entire marriage differently now, and thinking about exactly how I was going to handle what came next. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jennifer's words. Performance. Boring. My real life with Dee. 3 years of documented betrayal, lying right there in a hidden folder on her laptop that she'd asked me to fix. Jennifer slept peacefully beside me, her breathing steady and calm. She had no idea that her secret had been discovered, no idea that the blog she'd been maintaining for 3 years, the detailed chronicle of her affair, her contempt for our marriage, her plans for our future, had been read by the one person who was never supposed to see. Around 4 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went to my home office. I needed to think clearly, strategically. I'm a software engineer. I solve complex problems by breaking them into manageable components and addressing each systematically. This situation, as emotionally devastating as it was, needed the same approach. First priority, preserve the evidence. Jennifer's blog was the most comprehensive documentation of infidelity I could imagine, but it was on her laptop in a hidden folder she controlled. She could delete it at any moment. I needed copies, multiple copies that I controlled. I went downstairs quietly. Jennifer's laptop was charging on the kitchen counter where she'd left it. I knew her password. I opened the laptop, navigated to the hidden folder, and copied the entire document to 3 different USB drives I kept in my desk. Then I uploaded it to my personal encrypted cloud storage that Jennifer didn't know about. The document was 417,349 words, 3 years of entries, hundreds of afternoons with Derek, hundreds of lies to me, all documented in brutal, painful detail. With the evidence secured, I returned her laptop exactly as I'd found it. Jennifer would never know I'd copied anything. Back in my office, I started reading through the Keene blog more carefully, taking notes. I needed to understand the full scope of what had been happening. The affair had started May 15th, 3 years ago. Jennifer and Derek Chen, they'd met initially about a branding project. Derek owned a tech consulting firm and needed design work. Their first meeting had lasted 3 hours. By the second meeting, Jennifer was already writing about attraction and emotional connection. First physical affair, June 8th, 3 years ago, at Derek's office while his wife was traveling. Pattern established. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, 2 to 4 p.m. Jennifer would tell me she had client meetings or networking events. They'd meet at a hotel near Derek's office. Financial evidence. I cross-referenced Jennifer's blog entries with our credit card statements. She'd been using our joint card for business expenses that were actually affair-related. Hotel parking fees when she claimed to be at a coworker's home office, restaurants when she claimed to be at networking lunches, purchases at stores near Derek's office when she claimed to be shopping near home. Hundreds of small transactions that seemed innocuous individually but formed a clear pattern when mapped against her blog entries. The math was damning. Approximately $8,000 over 3 years spent on affair-related expenses, charged to our joint account categorized as business expenses. Social overlap. Derek and I had met multiple times at that tech industry event 3 years ago where Jennifer and I met Derek and his wife Amy, at a charity fundraiser last year where we'd all sat at the same table, at a group dinner 6 months ago where Derek had made jokes about stealing Jennifer away for design consulting. I'd laughed, completely oblivious that he was literally sleeping with my wife twice a week. Her plans. Jennifer had written explicitly about planning to leave me in approximately 5 years when the kids were older. She discussed this timeline with Derek multiple times. They were both in long-term affairs, both planning eventual divorces, both waiting for their children to be old enough to handle it better. The marriage counseling. Last week, I'd suggested therapy because I felt disconnected from Jennifer. She'd agreed immediately, not because she wanted to fix our marriage, but because refusing would seem suspicious. She'd literally written, "I'll go through the motions, and then I'll go back to my Tuesday and Thursday afternoons with D." By 6 a.m., I had a comprehensive timeline documented. 3 years of affair mapped against our family calendar, our finances, our social events. Every lie Jennifer had told, cross-referenced with what she'd written in her blog. I also searched for legal information. I needed to understand my options, my rights, what this evidence meant in divorce proceedings. California is a no-fault divorce state, meaning infidelity doesn't directly affect asset division, but it absolutely affects custody. Moral character matters when determining what's in the best interest of children. A parent who's been conducting a 3-year affair, using marital funds for that affair, and prioritizing their affair partner over their children's stable home environment is not demonstrating good judgment. At 7 a.m., I heard Jennifer. I closed my laptop, composed my face into something neutral, and went upstairs to start our normal morning routine. "Morning," Jennifer said, kissing my cheek. The same casual affection she'd been performing for 3 years while living a secret life. "Morning. Sleep well?" "Great. You?" "Fine." Lie. I hadn't slept at all. But maintaining normalcy was essential to my plan. We got the kids up, made breakfast, did the school morning routine. Tyler and Sophia, oblivious to the fact that their mother had been systematically betraying their father for 3 years, that their family was built on lies and would soon be irrevocably broken. I hugged them both extra tight before they got on the school bus. Whatever happened next, I needed to protect them. They didn't deserve to be collateral damage in their mother's affair. After the kids were on the bus, Jennifer announced, "I have a client meeting this morning, should be back by noon." It was Tuesday, her affair day. "Okay, what client?" "That tech startup in Berkeley, website redesign project." Another lie, smooth, practiced, delivered with eye contact and confidence. How many times had she lied to me like this? Hundreds? Thousands? "Sounds good. I'll probably work from home today. Have some coding I can focus on better here?" "Perfect. See you this afternoon." Another kiss on the cheek. Then she was gone. I watched her car pull out of the driveway, watched her drive toward whatever hotel she and Derek were meeting at today, watched my wife of 11 years leave to spend the afternoon with her affair partner while I stayed home like an oblivious fool. Except I wasn't oblivious anymore. I went back to my office and did something I'd never done before. I set up monitoring on Jennifer's laptop. Using remote access tools I had legitimate access to. I was the family IT support after all. I configured alerts that would notify me whenever she accessed her blog document. I also set up a script that would automatically back up any changes she made to it. If Jennifer added new entries about her affair, I'd know immediately, and I'd have copies of everything. Then I called a divorce attorney, not just any attorney. I researched the top family law firms in the Bay Area and called the one with the highest success rate in custody cases. Law offices of Patricia Huang. "How can I help you?" "I need an emergency consultation. I've discovered my wife's 3-year affair documented in a secret blog she's been writing. I need to understand my options." The receptionist's tone became more focused. "Mr. Harrison, I can get you in with Attorney Huang today at 3 p.m. Can you bring documentation?" I have 487,000 words of documentation written by my wife herself, every detail of a 3-year affair. That's extremely comprehensive. Yes, please bring everything. 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., I sat in Patricia Huang's office. She was mid-40s sharp, with the calculated intensity of someone who'd seen every variation of marital deception. I gave her a USB drive with Jennifer's complete blog. This is everything. 3 years of entries documenting her affair with Derek Chen, including financial details, meetings at hotels, her opinions about our marriage, and her plans to divorce me in 5 years when our kids are older. Patricia opened the file on her computer, started reading. Her expression remained professional, but I saw her eyebrows raise slightly as she scrolled through the sheer volume of content. Mr. Harrison, this is possibly the most detailed evidence of infidelity I've ever seen. Your wife essentially documented her own affair comprehensively. How did you obtain this? She asked me to fix her laptop. I found a hidden folder while troubleshooting. Everything on that drive is from files on her computer that I have legitimate access to as the family IT support. And she doesn't know you found this? No, she has no idea. Patricia nodded slowly. Here's what this means. California is no fault for divorce, so the affair itself doesn't affect asset division. However, this documentation absolutely matters for custody. A parent who's been conducting a systematic 3-year affair, using marital funds for that affair, lying repeatedly to their spouse and children, and openly documenting that they're waiting to divorce until it's convenient for them, that demonstrates questionable judgment regarding children's welfare. What are my options? You have several. First, we document everything further, cross-reference her blog with financial records, calendars, any other evidence. Second, we prepare divorce filings that position you favorably for primary custody given her behavior. Third, we consider whether to inform Derek Chen's wife, which could be beneficial if she becomes an ally in custody proceedings, by corroborating the affair. I want primary custody of my kid. I want to keep the house since I can afford it and she can't without my income. And I want Jennifer to understand that documenting your own betrayal is a catastrophic mistake. Patricia almost smiled. The last part isn't legally relevant, but I understand the sentiment. Let's build your case. Over the next 3 months, I became a man living 2 lives, just like Jennifer had been for 3 years. Publicly, I was the same Marcus. Good husband, attentive father, supportive of Jennifer's work. We went to that marriage counseling she'd agreed to. I participated earnestly, talking about wanting to reconnect, wanting to understand her needs better, wanting to improve our communication. The therapist seemed encouraged by my openness. Jennifer played along perfectly, just as she'd planned to in her blog. She talked about feeling disconnected, about needing more quality time, about wanting deeper emotional intimacy. She cried during one session about feeling lonely in our marriage. I held her hand and said we'd work through it together. The therapist praised our commitment to the marriage, all while I knew Jennifer would be at a hotel with Derek the next afternoon. Privately, I was building an unassailable case. I monitored Jennifer's blog religiously. She updated it 2 to 3 times per week, always after seeing Derek. Each update contained new betrayals. December 3rd, the therapy farce. Marriage counseling today. Marcus is actually taking it seriously, which would be sweet if it wasn't pointless. He talked about wanting to understand my needs better, about working on emotional intimacy. The therapist thinks we're making progress. If only they knew I'm doing this purely for appearances. That in 5 hours, I'll be with Dee experiencing the actual emotional and physical intimacy Marcus thinks he's working toward. The therapy is just another piece of the performance. Keep Marcus thinking we're working on things, keep him complacent, maintain stability for the kids. Dee finds it funny. You're really committed to this performance? He said last Tuesday. I am, because it's necessary. In 4 more years, Tyler will be 12 and Sophia will be 10. Then I can leave. Then Dee and I can stop hiding. Just need to maintain a little longer. Every entry like this was documented, backed up, added to my evidence file. I also contacted Derek Chen's wife, Amy, through a mutual friend. Didn't reveal the affair yet. Just established enough of a connection that when the time came, I'd have her contact information. I documented our finances meticulously. Calculated exactly how much Jennifer had spent on affair-related expenses over 3 years. prepared a spreadsheet showing every suspicious charge cross-referenced with her blog entries. $347.82 in total marital funds spent to facilitate her affair. I worked with Patricia to prepare divorce documents, comprehensive filings requesting primary physical custody, child support from Jennifer, division of assets that kept me in the house, and my preferred arrangement for everything. And I planned the confrontation, not an angry, emotional blow-up, something calculated, something that would make Jennifer understand exactly how devastating it is to have your secret life exposed. Our 12th wedding anniversary was March 15th, 3 months after I discovered the blog. I told Jennifer I wanted to do something special, just the two of us. She seemed surprised but pleased. "That's really sweet, Marcus. I'd love that. I'll make reservations somewhere nice. We'll get a sitter for the kids. Make a whole evening of it." She smiled and kissed me. Another performance. But I smiled back because I had a performance of my own planned. March 15th arrived. I'd told Jennifer we had 7 p.m. reservation. I'd actually planned something quite different. That afternoon, while Jennifer was out, supposedly running errands, actually meeting Derek for their Thursday afternoon, I put my plan into action. I'd taken Jennifer's entire blog, all 487,000 words, and had it professionally printed and bound. Beautiful hardcover book with a simple title on the spine, Our Marriage, Jennifer's Perspective. Inside every entry she'd written over 3 years, every detail of her affair, every cruel assessment of our marriage, every lie she'd documented, every plan she'd made to eventually leave me. I'd also prepared a second package, divorce papers, comprehensive, requesting primary custody based on Jennifer's demonstrated poor judgment and priorities, asset division that kept me in the house, everything my attorney and I had prepared over 3 months. At 6 p.m., Jennifer came home looking beautiful. She'd clearly put effort into her appearance, hair done, makeup perfect, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. "You look amazing," I said truthfully. "Thank you. I'm excited for tonight. We haven't done something special in forever. We haven't. Come here, I have something for you before we go." I handed her the professionally bound book. She looked confused. "What's this?" "Open it. It's a gift." She opened the cover, saw the title page, Our Marriage, Jennifer's Perspective, a complete chronicle, May 2022 to March 2025. Her face went from confused to concerned. "Marcus, what is this?" "Keep reading." She turned the page, saw the first blog entry, the one about meeting Derek, about finding me boring, about feeling alive with someone else for the first time in years. The color drained from her face. Where did you, your laptop? 3 months ago when you asked me to fix the technical issue. I found your hidden folder. I found myreality.docx. I read all 487,000 words, every entry, every detail of your 3-year affair with Derek Chen, every lie you told me, every time you called our marriage a performance while your real life happened elsewhere. Jennifer was shaking, the book trembling in her hands. "Marcus, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain. You explained everything quite thoroughly in this blog. How boring I am, how predictable, how our sex life is a chore, how you're waiting until the kids are older to leave me, how therapy is just part of your performance. You documented everything, Jennifer, in your own words. Please, I never meant for you to see this. I was just processing my feelings. It doesn't mean it means exactly what it says. You've been having an affair for 3 years. You've been lying to me constantly. You've been using our joint account to fund hotel meetings with Derek, $8,247 over 3 years, by the way. And you've been planning to divorce me in 4 or 5 years when it's convenient for you." I handed her the second package. "So I'm saving you the wait. These are divorce papers. I'm filing for divorce immediately. I'm requesting primary custody of Tyler and Sophia based on your demonstrated priorities and judgment. I'm keeping the house. And I've already informed our marriage counselor about the blog. She agrees that continuing therapy would be pointless, actively betraying the marriage." Jennifer was crying now. "You can't do this. The kids deserve better than a mother who spends her afternoons with her affair partner and calls it a business meeting. They deserve better than a marriage built on lies. You've been playing them and me for 3 years. That's over now. How long have you known?" 3 months. I found your blog in December. I've been reading every entry you've written since then. I know about Thursday's meeting with Derek. I know about last Tuesday. I know everything, Jennifer. You documented it all so thoroughly." She looked at the book in her hands like it was a weapon. You printed my private thoughts. Your private documentation of systematic infidelity and fraud. Yes, I printed it. Your attorney will receive a copy. Derek Chen's wife, Amy, will receive the relevant sections about her husband's affair. Our families will receive edited versions explaining why our marriage is ending. And I have multiple backup copies that you can't delete or destroy. You're destroying me. No, you destroyed our marriage. I'm just making sure everyone understands why. The evening that followed was chaos. Jennifer alternating between crying, anger, bargaining, and disbelief. Me staying calm, factual, unmoved by her emotional manipulations. I made mistakes, but I love you. You wrote that you feel nothing for me, that I bore you, that you're waiting for the right time to leave. That's not love, Jennifer. The blog was just venting. It wasn't all true. It was written over 3 years. It's consistent, it's detailed, it's comprehensive. It's the most honest documentation of what you really think and feel about our marriage. I believe it more than anything you're saying now. By 10 p.m., Jennifer had packed a bag and left to stay with her parents. The kids were at my brother's house for the night. I'd planned this carefully to protect them from witnessing the confrontation. The next morning, I called Derek Chen's wife, Amy. Amy, this is Marcus Harrison. We met at a few industry events. I need to talk to you about something difficult. Your husband, Derek, and my wife, Jennifer, have been having an affair for 3 years. I have comprehensive documentation if you need to see it. Silence, then I suspected something. Derek's been distant, secret phone calls, working late on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I thought I was paranoid. You weren't paranoid. Here's what I can tell you. I sent Amy the sections of Jennifer's blog that detailed the affair with Derek. Times, dates, hotels, details. Everything she needed to understand the full scope of her husband's betrayal. Amy thanked me, said she'd be filing for divorce as well, and asked if we could potentially coordinate our custody cases since they corroborated each other's evidence. Within a week, both marriages were in divorce proceedings. Jennifer and Derek's affair was exposed to everyone who mattered, our families, our friends, their professional networks. Jennifer tried to fight the custody arrangement. Her attorney argued that I'd violated her privacy, that the blog was private journaling, not meant to be evidence. My attorney countered, Mrs. Harrison documented her own systematic infidelity, her lies, or to her spouse, her misuse of marital funds, and her explicit plans to divorce when convenient for her rather than working on the marriage. This isn't private journaling. This is comprehensive evidence of behavior that demonstrates poor judgment regarding the children's welfare. The judge reviewed selected entries from the blog. Read Jennifer's own words about prioritizing her affair over her family, about planning to divorce in several years, about viewing marriage therapy as a performance. Primary custody went to me. 70-30 split, with Jennifer getting alternating weekends and one evening per week. I kept the house. Jennifer moved into a small apartment. Child support. Jennifer, despite working less than full-time, was ordered to contribute proportionally to the children's expenses. Asset division. Equitable split, but accounting for the $847 in marital funds Jennifer had spent on affair-related expenses. The divorce was finalized 6 months after I'd found the blog. 1 year after the divorce, my life had stabilized. Tyler and Sophia lived with me primarily, saw Jennifer on weekends. They were adjusting well to the new norm. I'd been honest with them in age-appropriate ways about why their mother and I divorced. Not details, but the truth that their mother had been dishonest, and that sometimes marriages end when trust is broken. Jennifer's freelance design business had suffered. Word spread in our professional community about the affair, thanks to Derek Chen's ex-wife Amy, who'd been less discreet than I'd been. Several clients dropped Jennifer. Her income decreased significantly. Derek Chen's marriage also ended in divorce. He and Jennifer tried dating openly for a few months after both divorces finalized, but it fell apart quickly. Turned out an affair that thrives on secrecy and stolen afternoons doesn't necessarily translate to a functional relationship in the light of day. I started dating again, slowly, cautiously. Therapy helped me work through trust issues. I was upfront with potential partners about my history, that I'd been betrayed systematically for 3 years, that trust was hard for me now, that I needed honesty above everything. Met a woman named Rachel through a friend. She was a teacher, divorced herself. understood the complications of rebuilt lives. When I eventually told her the full story about finding Jennifer's blog, about reading my wife's documentation of her affair and contempt for our marriage, about how I'd handled the revelation, Rachel's response was perfect. That must have been devastating, but you handled it strategically, not just emotionally. You protected yourself and your kids. That shows real strength. 2 years after the divorce, I'm 39. Tyler is 10. Sophia is 8. They're both thriving. Good students, happy kids, adjusted to our split custody arrangement. I've been dating Rachel for 8 months. It's good, honest, balanced, built on actual communication rather than performance. Jennifer is 37, still struggling. Her design business never fully recovered. She's working a regular job now, staff designer at a mid-sized company, giving up the freelance dream she'd cherished. She sees the kids on weekends, but her relationship with them has never been the same. They know she was dishonest, even if they don't know all the details. Derek Chen moved to Los Angeles, started over. I heard he got remarried. I hope his new wife knows what kind of man he is. Sometimes people ask if I regret how I handled it, if printing Jennifer's blog and presenting it to her was too cruel, if I should have just confronted her privately when I first found it. My answer, no, because Jennifer spent 3 years documenting her betrayal in writing, 3 years calling our marriage a performance, 3 years planning to leave me when it was convenient for her. She created that comprehensive record of her own choices. I simply ensured that her own words held her accountable. Was it brutal? Yes. Was it humiliating for her? Absolutely. But she'd humiliated me for 3 years while I remained oblivious and trusting. The blog was her truth, what she really thought and felt about me, our marriage, her affair. She'd written it, assuming I'd never see it. When I found it, I made sure everyone who needed to understand what had happened saw her truth, not whatever sanitized version she would have presented if I'd just confronted her quietly. 3 years after finding that blog, I rarely think about Jennifer anymore, except in the logistics of co-parenting. The pain has faded to a dull ache. The betrayal no longer keeps me awake at night. My life now is better than it ever was during our marriage. It's built on honesty rather than performance, on actual partnership rather than secret resentment, on trust that's earned and maintained, not assumed and violated. And somewhere out there is a professionally bound book titled Our Marriage, Jennifer's Perspective, a comprehensive chronicle of 3 years of infidelity, documented in excruciating detail by someone who never imagined her private thoughts would become public evidence. Jennifer learned the hard way. If you're going to betray someone systematically for 3 years, don't document every detail in writing. And I learned something too. Sometimes the most boring, predictable person is exactly the one who sees through your lies. Document your betrayal and ensures that your own words hold you accountable for the life you destroyed.